Hello and welcome to math class. Today we're going to be doing some circular reasoning. So as you come into the classroom and get settled, I want you to work on two of these warm-up problems. And these are the two that I want you to do. Number 1 and number 4. Now remember, here we're looking at the area of a circle. We're told to use 3.14 for pi. It says that right there. And just as a review, the area of a circle is going to be equal to pi multiplied by the radius squared. And you guys also know that when we're talking about circles, the diameter goes all the way across the circle. That's the diameter. The radius is half of the length of the diameter. It goes from the center of the circle to the circle, and that's our radius. And this, the radius, is the length that you're going to use in the warm-up because we're calculating area, and area is equal to pi times the radius squared. So keep this in mind. Remember your vocabulary, pause the video, and take a minute to think about our warm-up, number 1 and number 4. Hit play when you're ready to talk about the warm-up. All right, you've hit play again, so that means that you're ready to talk about how to do the warm-up. Well, let's look first at problem number 1. First of all, I want to label this problem. What information have I been given? Well, my diagram shows a radius, and it tells me that the length of my radius is 4. So I'm going to write that r is equal to 4. Well, let's write down our formula for the area of a circle. It's area is equal to pi multiplied by the radius squared. We're told to use 3.14 for pi. So let's substitute that in place of pi. 4 squared just means 4 times 4. So I'll go ahead and write that down. Now, you guys know what 4 times 4 is. It's just 16. And this is where we really get down to business with our multiplication. I'm going to model the multiplication with this problem, and I'm going to let you do the multiplication on the other one on your own. But let's talk about how to multiply 3 and 1400ths, or 3.14, times 16. First, we have 6 times 4. That's 24. Then we have 6 times 1. That's 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay, now we do 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Now I'm going to scratch out my 2 up here because I used that. Let me put a placeholder, or just put a 0 here, representing that I'm not going to have any one. I'm going to have 0 ones in this next line. So 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. I'm running out of room here, but that's okay. I'm still doing math. So let's add now. I have 4. I have 12. I have 10, and I have 5. Now, where does my decimal go? You can use your common sense to figure out where your decimal ought to go here. Estimation would tell me, well, the answer should be pretty close to 3 times 16. 3 times 16 is 48. My answer should be pretty close to 48. That's just an estimate. Now, if I look at this, should my decimal go here? No. 502 is not close to 48. Should my decimal go here? No. 5.024 is not close to 48. Now, how do I really know for sure where my decimal goes? Common sense is telling me that it goes between the 0 and the 2, and the way that I know that that's correct mathematically is because there are 2 digits behind the decimal in my factor, and my factor's up above. So there should be 2 digits behind the decimal in my product as well. That's how I know that's where my decimal belongs. Remember, when we're multiplying decimals, we're not lining them up. Instead, we're counting the number of decimal places in the factors and being sure that it matches the number in the products. Okay, so I have found the area of this circle in number 1. I can write that the area is equal to 50.24, or 50 and 24 hundredths square inches. And let's get the next one set up. Let's get number 4 set up. I'm going to have to get some space here to work. Whoop. So we're not going to go through all the math in great detail together on number 4, but what I do want you to recognize is that this problem does not give us a radius. Instead, it tells us the diameter. It tells us the diameter is equal to 12, and it wants us to figure out the radius. Well, the radius is just half of the diameter because the radius goes from the center of the circle to the circle. Well, you know that half of 12 is 6, so you know that the radius is 6. Let's substitute that into our formula. Once again, we have the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. We're going to use 3.14 for pi, and we'll be multiplying that by 6 times 6 because that's 6 squared. So this is what you guys need to multiply together. You already did that. This is how it should be set up, and I'm going to let you do the multiplication this time. You might want to pause for a minute and check your work. Before we get started with the lesson, I just want to take a minute to go over our learning goals for the day. We are going to be solving problems using the area and circumference formulas, and we're going to be calculating the area of composite figures, and we'll talk about what those are in just a minute.